10 years ago, if you told a football coach you were lining up in a 4-4-2, they'd have looked at you the way a barista looks at someone ordering a regular black coffee in 2026. Like, sure, you can do that, but why would you? The 4-4-2 was dead, buried. Pep Guardiola killed it, stuffed it, and put it in a glass case in a museum somewhere next to the sweeper and the back pass to the goalkeeper. And yet here we are, World Cup 2026, and some of the best teams on the planet are lining up in it. Morocco, Brazil, Japan, Ecuador, Ivory Coast. So either every international manager on Earth forgot how football evolved over the last 15 years, or something else is going on. Spoiler, it's the second one. Let's get into it. Right, quick history lesson, because you need to understand the crime before we talk about the comeback. For decades, the 4-4-2 was the formation. 2 banks of 4, 2 strikers up top, simple as you like. England built an entire footballing identity around it. It's clean, it's balanced, every kid who's ever played FIFA, EA Sports FC, understands it instinctively. Then Pep Guardiola turned up at Barcelona and ruined everyone's fun. Around 2010, Guardiola popularized the 4-3-3, what everyone started calling tiki-taka, and the genius of it was simple. 3 central midfielders instead of 2. That's an extra body in the engine room. Every team trying to play through the middle against a 4-4-2 suddenly had a spare man, an overload, a free pass. Total football's whole philosophy, players interchanging position, nobody staying rigidly in their lane, made flat back 4 and flat midfield 4 look like they were playing checkers while everyone else moved on to chess. The flat back 4 and flat midfield 4 couldn't cope with players running between the lines, dropping into space, overloading zones. By the 2010s, if you saw a top club lining up in a 4-4-2, you assumed one of 2 things. Either the manager was about to get sacked or you were watching a really committed throwback friendly. So that's the body, that's the formation everyone agreed was finished, which makes it very, very funny that it's the formation quietly winning World Cup matches right now. Here's the bit that should make you sit up, because this isn't nostalgia. Nobody at Morocco's training camp watched old Sam Allardyce tapes and thought, yeah, let's bring this back for the romance of it. This is a cold, practical, weather-based decision. 7 teams at this World Cup, Ecuador, Ivory Coast, Morocco, Brazil, Haiti, Scotland, and Japan, have all used a 4-4-2 out of possession at various points. Key phrase there, out of possession. This isn't about how they attack, it's about how they defend. And the method is specific. Instead of defending deep for 90 minutes or pressing high and relentlessly the way a Klopp or Guardiola team might, these sides are sitting in a mid-block, picking their moment, then stepping up together to win the ball. Translation for the people at the back, they're not chasing the game around for 90 minutes. They're waiting, patiently, like a predator that knows exactly when to strike, not constantly burning energy running around the savannah for no reason. And why does that matter so much right now at this tournament? One word, heat. Mexico, Morocco, and Germany have all scored soon after forcing turnovers through short, intense bursts of pressing, proof that controlled situational pressure works far better than relentless high pressing in heat and humidity. Think about that for a second. This is a World Cup played across the US, Mexico, and Canada in June and July in stadiums where players are losing their minds over snakes near training grounds because the heat's already got everyone rattled. You cannot ask a midfield to press like Liverpool circa 2019 for 90 minutes in 35-degree heat. You'll have nobody left standing by minute 70. So, the 4-4-2 mid-block isn't a tactical regression, it's smart load management dressed up as a formation. It's a team going, we don't have the legs to press you into oblivion for the full 90, so we're going to make you work for every yard and strike when you switch off. It's basically the football equivalent of not arguing with someone all day. You just pick your one moment to win.
Okay, so the mid-block 4-4-2 is back. It's smart, it's disciplined. Great. So how do you actually beat the thing? Because here's the structural problem with 2 flat banks of 4. Forward and sideways passing is naturally well covered by 2 disciplined lines. If you try to play straight through it, you're playing into a wall. The 4-4-2 is built to deal with directness. So attacking sides have had to relearn an old trick. Stop going through it, go across it. Diagonal passing has emerged as the single most effective way to break down a flat 4-4-2, because that's the one angle the shape genuinely struggles to cover. And there's no better example of this entire tournament than what Morocco did to Brazil. Watch this goal back. Nusser Mazraoui finds his attacking midfielder with a diagonal pass from a wide area cutting infield into the space just behind Brazil's midfield line. Now, here's the bit that should genuinely worry Brazil fans, and I say this with love because, look, I'll always have a soft spot for Brazil. But Brazil were playing a midfield two of Casemiro and Bruno Guimaraes in that first half, and a two-man midfield simply doesn't have the horizontal coverage that a three would give you. There was a gap on the far side, and Morocco found it like they had a map. This is the genuinely beautiful part of football tactics, right? Brazil, 5-time World Cup winners, footballing royalty, got picked apart not by some flashy individual moment of magic, but by a structural gap that Morocco's coaching staff clearly identified, drilled, and executed perfectly. Mazraoui didn't get lucky. He hit the exact channel a two-man midfield can't close. And Morocco aren't the only ones doing this. Ecuador used a slightly different version of the same idea against Ivory Coast. Piero Hincapié dropped into a deeper holding role and then made repeated diagonal runs from central midfield out toward the left, dragging Ivory Coast's central defenders out of shape and opening up crossing lanes. And this one's almost cheeky. Ancelotti himself was spotted encouraging the exact same pattern down the other flank for Brazil, with Vinicius Jr. holding the whiff and Matheus Cunha cutting in from out to in to stretch the defensive line. So even the manager who'd just been undone by a diagonal pass into midfield gaps was out there ordering his own players to use the very same weapon. Football's a small, slightly ironic sport sometimes. Diagonals aren't the only thing breaking these mid-blocks open. There's a second weapon, and it's an old one wearing new boots, the false nine. You'll remember the false nine from Pep's Barcelona, shoving Messi up front with no real striker instincts required, just pure chaos for defenders to deal with. Well, it's back, and it's doing exactly the same job against the 4-4-2 revival. Morocco's Saibari, Germany's Kai Havertz, and Mexico's Raul Jimenez have all played this roaming false nine role at this World Cup. And it's a continuation of something we already saw at club level, where Harry Kane and Ousmane Dembele helped Bayern Munich and PSG cause exactly this kind of chaos by abandoning the traditional striker spot entirely. Here's why it's lethal specifically against a flat four-back. A false nine drops into midfield, and now the center back has an impossible decision. Follow him into midfield, and you've ripped a hole in your own back four. Don't follow him, and now he's got time and space to turn and create something nobody can stop. It's a structural dilemma with no clean answer, and against two disciplined banks of four that are designed around everyone staying in their lane, a player who refuses to stay in his lane is genuinely the perfect poison. So here's where we land. The 4-4-2 isn't back because international football forgot 15 years of tactical evolution. It's back because in a 48-team World Cup played in brutal heat across 3 countries, it's the smartest possible compromise between defensive discipline and saving your players' legs for the next match in 4 days' time. But, and this is the beautiful bit, the bit that makes tactics genuinely fun rather than just a stat sheet, every solution creates its own weakness. The same disciplined shape that conserves energy and frustrates attackers for long spells has one specific blind spot, the diagonal ball and the false nine who won't stand still. Morocco understood that better than anyone on the pitch the day they faced Brazil. Mazraoui's pass into the gap behind Casemiro and Guimaraes wasn't a fluke. It was a team that had clearly identified exactly where a two-man midfield runs out of coverage and waited for the moment to exploit it. And the most Brazilian part of the whole story, Ancelotti watched his own team get undone by a diagonal ball into midfield gaps, and by the time he set Brazil up against their next opponent, he had Vinicius and Cunha running the exact same play themselves.
That's football. You don't get to invent a weapon, you just get to borrow whoever used it on you last. If you enjoyed this one, the next video in this series is going straight into the knockout rounds, because if Morocco found that gap once, you can bet every analyst left in this tournament is now looking for the same one.